And we're live.
Ah,
Yay! I know that's the appropriate sound for this live. What is it?
pretty much.
Why am I actually drawn to this topic? I shouldn't be.
You shouldn't want to kill anyone. Ever.
Well, that's what's really the funny part is that, and I, of course, titled it in a way that would tweak people's world because how can killing be a contribution? And what the fuck am I even talking about? And this live is technically supposed to give you some of that awareness or energy or information. It may not give you any of it. And you might just have to
Join us on the call.
Big girl panties and fucking choose it. So we'll see. We'll see what Ashley can get out of me. She's going to do her best for all of you people.
So,
look at her.
If you could give anyone one tool or one little bit of information about how killing can be a contribution, what would you say?
Okay, cool. So the one thing, well, there's so many different facets to this particular topic. And for those of you that are wondering why we're even doing this live, I am doing a call, a one-off telecall next Wednesday on this topic. And as I said before, if you're strangely attracted to the topic, but it creeps you out and makes you uncomfortable, you may want to choose it. Just saying.
Yeah, it's your thing. You require some information on it.
Well, and I mean, who tells you that here? You know, like if you're drawn to something, but it makes you a little uncomfortable, a lot of people will say, don't do that thing. Avoid it at all costs. And that is one of the things that I am looking forward to addressing on this call is that how often do you avoid the very energy that would change everything for you, everything for the person you're engaged with, like you're working with or you're aware of, and everything for the future? Like a little or a lot?
A lot.
How often do we all do that, right? Because we've been told you should be this way, you should be that way. These things are good, these things are bad. And like we have such a twisted perspective of death here. And it's something I've been really aware of. Like for a lot of my life, I have worked with the other side of the coin. So I've worked with birth. And as with anything in the world, there's always two sides of the coin. We have a very twisted way in which we are present with birth in a lot of ways. And we have a very twisted way in which we are present with death in a lot of ways. Is everyone like that? No. There are people who have a particular space and a particular way of being with those things based on all different kinds of things. Like different cultures have a different, cultural experience with these two variants, and different religions have a different religious experience with these two variants, and, so on and so forth. And if you really get down to brass tacks, most people are freaked out about death, killing, it's wrong here. So of course, the title, The Killing Constitution, is like, yep, she's crazy. We all thought she was crazy, but now we know for sure she's a little bit loco. And maybe I am.
Well, and I've always kind of said that. I mean, I grew up on a farm. You and my dad always said, you have livestock, you have dead stock, and you don't let, for example, if there's a cow who can't get up, that means she's choosing to die. Mm-hmm. And you don't let her lay there.
Yes.
You go out there and you shoot her. That's what you do on a farm. So,
and that's kind of, yeah.
So I've always had a very different point of view about life and death based on my experiences as a kid on a farm.
Yeah. And how weird are you compared to 99% of people?
So weird.
And this is really even a bigger topic. Like right now, I can really perceive how this topic is really uncomfortable for people because we've spent a year plus making the priority that everyone survive and not die. Mm-hmm. As if living is the more positive thing and choosing to die is not.
Is wrong. It's terrible, awful, and bad.
Offense. And what if I told you, or even suggested to you, that there are some of us on this planet that actually have an ability to contribute to people when they choose? Because that's the other part people don't realize. It's like oftentimes when you're aware of an energy and you avoid choosing it, you're not aware of it from a place that you actually have a point of view about it. You're actually aware of what that person is desperately desiring, but doesn't think they can choose it. There are a lot of people here that are ready to not be here.
Yep.
If you're someone who has the ability to perceive that in people's worlds, and either you don't know that's what it is, or you are resistant to the perception of it because it's not comfortable to be aware that people would actually prefer to not be here. Most of us are like, no, like we will literally refuse that awareness.
Blinders, I don't want to see that.
I've spent a lot of my life, and literally I am just starting to get a tiny bit of clarity on this, but I have spent a lot of my life believing that my body was dying. Like I would go into like, I'm dying. I must be dying. Like something's wrong with me. I'm dying. And one of the things that I've realized is that actually mine? Or is it an awareness that I have of people, places, and things here that are asking for the shift of consciousness that death is, and I'm aware of it. And because I'm not willing to be aware of it, I twist it into like, I'm dying. My body's dying. And I've spent like a lot of time in my life worried about what's wrong. Am I sick? Am I dying? What's going on? And what I have started to, for my own self personally, realize is that, wait a second, what am I aware of that I'm not willing to be aware of? And one of the things that we talk about in Access a lot is, what if death is a choice? I also talk a lot about what if birth is a choice? Like we have this it's interesting. It's like, it's a very intense, dramatic thing when someone chooses to have a baby or someone chooses to die, but yet we have this separation and this, like, we're not willing to totally be present with what's going on. Like, did this person actually choose this?
Yeah, and actually see like all of it, like the gift in everything.
Mm-hmm. And there are some of us, just like there are some people who are really good at running the 100 meters. There are people who are just excel at football. There are people that are just good at things. There are people that are amazing at riding horses. They're literally come out of the womb knowing how to do so. And yet there are people who have capacities to allow and facilitate and to contribute to when something is desiring to go. And it doesn't have to be a person. I'm not just talking about person death. I'm talking about animals. I'm talking about the earth. Like the earth doesn't have a point of view. We live through it. Any of those that live in, you see things are, born, planted, they grow, they die, starts over. There is no point of view with the planet. And there's also businesses that are asking to, like, what is death? It's a transition. Like, what if your business is actually asking to transition and you're unwilling to perceive it? It's going to die. It's just going to be real uncomfortable and pathetic as it goes. If you're willing to go, okay, what is this? Would it like to change? Would it like to transform?
Yeah, that.
And choose it. What would happen? And so it's all the places where we perceive these things while not willing to perceive them, while refusing to perceive them, while denying that we actually have an ability to facilitate some sort of change and ease, that basically ricochets back on us and we get to sit with it. How does it get better than that?
And fuck ourselves with it.
Totally. 100 million percent. 100 million percent. And some of us have body capacities. Like, you could change things. And I use this as an example. And this actually came up on an X-Men class that I did a few months ago. And it inspired this call. But somebody was asking about like different capacities they have with bodies. And I have always been very aware of cancer. Like, I had cancer when I was, in my teens. It's been something that's in my world. I have gone through time periods where I'm convinced I'm full of it and dying. You know, it is a big thing in my world. You, Ashley, know this because there are times where I call you like, oh my God, ask me a fucking question. I'm losing it. And what I had spoke to is like, there, you know, it's like, if it, like, the thing that is really interesting and often taboo to talk about is that what if when people have dis-ease in their body, it's actually a choice. They're actually choosing that to go. And one of the things Gary Douglas has always said is like, when someone has cancer, he's like, I always ask them, what are you dying to get out of? And I always looked at that like, wow, you know, like, because I personally had cancer. Obviously, I didn't die from it, but it's like I always look at that and look at my experience, and I was aware of things, but I wasn't like that didn't really ring necessarily true for me. And it's like, how much was I unwilling to be aware of what capacities I have with shifting and changing what we have decided is cancer in bodies. Bodies are energetic.
Yep.
We could and can change anything. And you hear about it. People miraculously get better. No one knows why they get better, right? It happens, but it doesn't happen as often as it could happen because I think we don't acknowledge this thing. And so what I was saying is like, if you're not refusing the awareness of like, okay, cool, I'm aware this person is creating cancer as a choice, and you don't actually have a point of view if they are choosing it to go, then when you're willing and you're willing to be aware that you have some sort of capacity to change that for them, and you're just willing to be it without a point of view to show up, you could either assist them in what they're asking for, or you could kill the cancer.
Well, it's interesting. You're talking about this and I can't even hear you, and I'm going cross-eyed. So like, I wonder what capacities I have that I've never been willing to look at or acknowledge. Really? Or yeah.
If you're someone who deep down, you know, you have a different perspective of death than the other people around you, you may actually have a capacity in this. And that's not necessarily what the call is about. And
it's a good thing I'm cute.
Going to come up because it's like who wants to admit they have that kind of a capacity? Because we've decided it's wrong here. But what if you could actually, like I said, if you refuse it, like, you might actually be able to transmute facilitate the energetic change of what is showing up as cancer in their body. But if you refuse to even acknowledge it, there is no chance for you to choose that. So again, very strange topic.
Very strange. But brilliant.
And it's like, there's a level of potency that will show up in your life if you're willing to be any energy that's required, even if it has been a judgeable offense.
Well, yeah.
And if people will judge you about it. Do I say that I'm aware of all these things when I'm aware of them? No. I don't really, is it required? But it also gives me the ability to perceive an experience going on, because that's the other contribution. Like, because also like a lot of times, one of the things that I know I'm really potent at doing is when people go into frantic, when people go into freak out, when people go into havoc, when people go into like, oh my God, I have the ability to kill it dead in its tracks. I do. And I choose it. Now, does everybody ever necessarily respond well to that? Nope. Because guess what? Some people like choosing havoc. They like
confusion.
They like choosing the confusion. They like that adrenaline of like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Now, I am not that cat. So if I'm in that experience and that doesn't work for me, I will just be like, nope. Just nope. I'm not mad. I'm not, whatever. Sometimes I'll get very potent, but I also was like that when I was a doula and I would attend births. Like, there was a lot of births I would walk into. And by the time I got there, it was like, everything was elevated up to a bazillion degrees and everybody's freaking out. And I didn't even really know what I was doing back then. So the whole thing is like, what if these things aren't cognitive? What if you're like, these are actually, like I said, there are people that are really good at music. There are people that are really good at painting. They didn't like learn that. they're just naturally good at it. What if you're naturally good at this energy?
Well, and it's interesting that you say that because I'm like naturally good at that with animals. It's like,
Correct.
no, you don't get to behave like that. And if you do behave like that, you will die. I will kill you with my bare hands. We don't do that.
Which is another whole conversation with animals. And you also have a lot of ease when they're choosing to go as well, which a lot of people like. That's one of the areas I don't have a lot of ease. And it's like, you don't have to be perfect at this either, you guys. Like, it's not like I don't have like ease with everyone dying. Like, I don't like that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm actually willing to be in the question about it. And I'm actually willing to like look at, is this mine? Is this actually my point of view? Like, what is available here for me? What am I capable of being?
And also, like, another cool question is like, especially with animals, they don't ever have a point of view about death or birth or any of that. So when they do choose to go, like, what are they gifting you?
Oh my gosh, I could go. This is a whole nother live, but I
Uh-huh.
personally had an experience with one of my amazing animals, and he died last year. It was very sudden, and it rocked me completely and totally. And he facilitated the shit out of me, and he still is.
Hmm.
Like the whole thing. And I was really pissed off. And I was not very happy that he went, and I wasn't very happy that how he went, and all the things.
And
And
all of that
and
facilitated.
me choosing more and me stepping into more.
Mhm.
But I had to be willing to like be with all of it and not refuse any of it. So again, this is not a like light, airy, fairy,
Conversation.
not like energy even. And I
Right.
think that's another reason why people avoid it. It's like you don't want people to not like you.
Yep.
I have gotten over that point of view. Like, I'm like, okay, fuck it. Because how many times have you been so careful for everyone to like you and it still doesn't work?
Well, yeah, they
Like,
don't like you anyways.
exactly. So
They
what?
judge you anyways. So
And I had actually, like I experienced bullying growing up. I mean, I had like,
me
I
too.
never spoke about it. It's so funny because like bullying is like a thing now and people talk about it. And I look at that, I'm like, wow, like I experienced that or worse. I didn't even tell my mom or it just was, you know, it was what it was. And like, it wasn't fun. And I look back at that now and it's like, I wasn't willing to be the energy that would have stopped that bullying.
Me too.
And partly why you get bullied is because everyone else can perceive you have the energy, but you're refusing it. The
Yep.
other thing people always used to say to me is I was intimidating. I'm like, if you know me, I'm tiny, I'm little, but everybody thought I was intimidating, which I didn't know that.
I got that a lot
I
too.
was like, what? Like, that didn't even occur to me because that's not how I perceived myself because I literally was refusing that part of me. So, like I said, this conversation could go a bazillion different ways. The fact that it's a one-off call is kind of funny, and I'll probably end up doing more calls. And
Well,
like,
I hope so.
I wonder what else too, like what other
Yeah.
questions? Because the thing that I love about all of these different things that like every time I do a call, it's literally to me like I'm calling out into the world for all the people who have these different capacities that nobody has told them they have, that they may have a hunch in their world that they might have to show up. Because the thing that I know is that what it looks like for me and what it looks like for you and what it looks like for the next person, none of it will be the same. And if
Completely
we're
different.
all willing to have the full spectrum of what's possible for us, how would the world change?
A lot.
So much. So
Hmm.
that's that's what I that's what I'm all about. Like I hope there's lots of people on this call because I'm
Me
excited
too.
for what we can create and what people can reveal to themselves about themselves. And yeah, like
And come out of hiding.
I would love to unleash a lot of just potent, amazing beings into the world and onto this planet. Because personally, I get it now is the time for that. So
Yep. Now is the time.
yeah. So you're invited. Even if you're
But
scared.
don't come.
Even
Don't.
if you're scared.
Even if you're scared.
It's fine. There's
Yeah.
gonna be people that will wimp out, but that's okay.
Yeah, there is.
We don't, maybe someday you'll put on your big girl panties or big boy panties and choose it. It's okay if you don't. It's all
We'll
good.
see you in like a year or something on the next call.
I'm such an asshole. Well, anything else? I
think we covered it. Like I'm fried now.
well, as I said, you are warmly invited to the killing contribution. And I hope to see many of you.
That's such a contradiction. You're
I know.
warmly invited to the killing contribution. It's awesome.
Exactly. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you. You're welcome, honey. Bye.